What on earth have M&Ms got to do with making your construction project more sustainable, you might be wondering? Well, let me tell you a story. Over the years, many famous and high-profile musicians have been known to make all kinds of wild demands about their backstage setups at concerts. Allegedly, Kanye West required a barber's chair, while Mariah Carey has insisted on 2 vases of white roses. But the legendary American rock band Van Halen had one of the most oddly specific requests of all, a bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones removed. For years, it was seen as complete folly. The band was making ridiculous demands of concert organizers simply because they could, and it's expected behavior of prima donna rock stars. But actually, there was a good reason for it, and it's a tactic you could employ too to help your construction project be more sustainable, or at least deliver to the standards you specify and expect. In the late 1970s and early 80s, Van Halen were huge. Everything about them was massive. The sales, the drugs intake, the hair, and unsurprisingly, their stage shows weren't exactly small, intimate affairs either. They were one of the first bands to take their huge stage show production on the road, and their concerts involved massive 18-wheeler trucks full of complex lighting and staging design on tour. To ensure that the venues would meet the requirements needed for the tour, a very detailed contract rider was created. At a time when most contract riders were often just a small pamphlet, Van Halen's contract rider was a whopping 53 pages that read like a version of the Chinese phone book. However, the band still encountered a lot of issues with the venues they were playing at, as some of the buildings like the Spectrum in Philadelphia where the hockey team played, or the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto were built in the 50s, 60s and 70s, and were not designed to handle such large production, and constructing and dismantling of the sets between gigs was taking far too long. In part, this was due to the crew being unfamiliar with the size of the production, but also a lot of it was down to the fact that the promoters frequently didn't read the contract rider properly, and the band would then have structural, safety and financial issues because, for example, there wasn't a sufficient electricity supply provided, or the girders couldn't support the weight of all the equipment. When the band played in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the building they were playing in had just had a brand new squishy rubberized floor installed to be used as a gym for the basketball team. But the promoter hadn't read about all the physical requirements of the contract. The super heavy stage sank about 16.5 centimeters or 6.5 inches into the floor, causing thousands of dollars worth of damage and causing a safety risk to everyone at the concert. So they added a clause right in the middle of their contract rider to act as a little test. There will be no brown M&Ms in the backstage area upon pain of forfeiture of the show with full compensation. This was actually brilliant. With a quick glance, they could tell how well the promoter had done their job. If there were no bowl of M&Ms, they hadn't read the whole contract. And if there were brown M&Ms in the bowl, they'd been sloppy in their preparations, and it was time to check the entire setup. Every time this happened, the band found something else was wrong. The show might have been delayed if they'd found something they couldn't fix, or cancelled completely if they found something serious that couldn't be corrected. The bowl of M&Ms served as a canary in the coal mine, warning them of pending danger. So what has all this got to do with making your construction project more sustainable? Well, it's true that if you haven't specified something or put it into the contract, then you haven't bought it. But even if you have, there's no guarantee that the contract has been read or understood, and it will be delivered on. Adding a brown M&Ms type clause to your contract might help you quickly check if the sustainability requirements that are specified have been properly read and understood and are likely to be fulfilled, or alert you there might be a problem and prompt you to investigate further. Have you used a brown M&Ms clause in your contracts, or would you consider doing so? Let us know in the comments below.